It was rumored that the entertainment industry's crown prince, Ethan Coe, favored pale and slender actresses. To win his affection, my sister, Wendy, went to extreme lengths to diet and lose weight. She shed 10 kg in just 1 week. Worried for her health, I voluntarily prepared low-fat diet meals for her and took her to exercise. Yet, the result was the prince officially declaring his love for a model who weighed less than 45 kg. Wendy blamed me, claiming I fed her carbs, ruining her diet plan and costing her love. In revenge, she deliberately forced me to be her stand-in during an explosion scene. She pushed me into a sea of flames where I was instantly killed. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the very first day I brought diet food to her. I immediately snatched the corn on the cob from her mouth. Corn is also a carb. Throw it away. Jane Jiang, are you crazy? Wendy, lying on her hospital bed, covered her mouth and cursed at me, but her eyes couldn't leave the corn in my hand. It was the same corn I had just pulled from her mouth. In my previous life, eating just this one corn cob made her gain a full kilogram, and from then on she harbored a deep hatred for me, eventually leading to my brutal demise. I collected myself and let go of the corn. It fell straight into the trash. Wendy involuntarily swallowed, then looked up, ready to curse again. Corn is a carb, I'm not even eating it and you dare to? Her breath hitched. She clutched her head and fell back onto the bed, groaning about being dizzy. I glared at her, then quickly gathered all the carb-laden food I had bought for her on the table. I dumped it all. I re-edited a video from the beach, playing it aloud for her. These are all sugar-producing foods, look here. Weight loss bloggers say 1 bite makes you gain 2 kg. Don't blame me later for not warning you. Jane Jiang, your sister is like this and you're still bullying her? Mrs. Zhao's shrill, scolding voice rang out behind me. She clapped my back forcefully, dragged me aside, then bent down to ask Wendy about her well-being with feigned concern. Only after confirming Wendy was fine did she turn to me, demanding, I told you to be your sister's assistant to take good care of her. Is this how you take care of her? Wendy, hiding behind her mother, smugly stuck out her tongue at me. I coolly looked at the mother and daughter united against me, retorting, don't put everything on me. I'm an assistant, not a nanny. She wants to lose weight and refuses to eat, so how dare I go against her orders? Wendy had just graduated from film school and was a struggling actress. I wasn't just her older sister, I was also her makeup artist and personal assistant. I helped her pick clothes and carry shoes when we went out, and at home, I had to do her laundry, cook, and endure her volatile temper. If I made even a small mistake, she would complain to Mrs. Zhao, who would then come looking for trouble with me. Just like this time, it was clearly her fault. She attended an event, met Prince Ethan Coe, and came back utterly obsessed with him. From today, I have to lose weight to get Ethan Coe, and you have to do it with me. It was rumored that Ethan Coe, the entertainment industry's crown prince, only liked pale, skinny actresses. All his ex-girlfriends were like bone fairies. It had to be said that Wendy was quite pretty. Big eyes, a high nose bridge, red lips, a classic beauty. Since her debut, she had played many immortal female roles in fantasy dramas. With her white robes fluttering, seemingly untouched by the mundane world, she had a decent fan base. The only problem was her large bone structure. At nearly 170 cm tall, her weight could never drop below 45 kg. This completely failed to meet Ethan Coe's aesthetic standards. So, to catch his eye, Wendy began a drastic diet. Every day, apart from a few green vegetables, she touched no carbs at all. In my previous life, I worried about her health and always tried to prepare low-fat, nutritionally balanced meals for her. This time, with me no longer intervening, Wendy ate only vegetables for a few days, her blood sugar dropped, and she fainted on set, ending up in the hospital. Seeing Wendy's pale and weak appearance, Mrs. Zhao cursed me relentlessly. I told you to take good care of Wendy. Is this what you call caring? It was the same in my previous life. No matter what happened to Wendy, I was always the one at fault. Before, I endured it for the sake of family, but this life, I absolutely would not tolerate their bullying any longer. I retorted without ceremony, why don't you blame your precious daughter? Wendy wouldn't listen to me. She insisted on losing weight. Besides, I've been dieting with her too. Why are other people fine when they diet, but she makes herself faint? Mrs. Zhao, infuriated by my defiance, glared at me. Wendy's body is weak. How can she compare to you? With that, she took out a single lunchbox she had brought from home. Inside were Wendy's favorite stir-fried dishes, braised pork belly and shrimp in oil sauce. She called Wendy my precious and gently cajoled her to eat. You have to eat even when dieting. You need to eat enough nutrients. In my previous life, I had said the same thing to Wendy, even hiring a fitness trainer and nutritionist for advice. They all said Wendy's no-carb diet would not only lead to rebound weight gain, but also affect her physical and mental health. So, I strictly followed the expert's meal plan. Every day on set, I cooked different low-fat meals for her, monitored her exercising early, and made sure she slept before 11 p.m. The result was that in the initial phase, although she gained a little weight, her spirits lifted considerably, and her physique became more balanced and healthy. Weight loss was only a matter of time. But precisely then, Ethan Coe was rumored to be with another actress. In the paparazzi photos, the other woman was stick-thin, much more slender than Wendy. Unwilling to give up, Wendy rushed to confess her feelings to Ethan Coe, only to be brutally rejected by him. "I don't love anyone who weighs more than 90 pounds, 45 kg. Wendy ran back crying and slapped me the moment she saw me. "If it weren't for you, I would have been 90 pounds by now. You jinx, you don't want me to live well. You're jealous, so you deliberately made my diet fail. You want to steal my Joe, don't you?" From that day on, she turned all her anger on me, never being kind to me once. Later, when an explosion scene had to be filmed, even with professional stunt doubles on set, she insisted I be her stand-in. I thought she was just having a childish tantrum again, so I went to the set with the stunt group. Unexpectedly, as I struggled to escape the sea of flames, what awaited me was Wendy's twisted face. "Because of you, I lost Joe, and you dare to linger in front of me? Go die." She forcefully pushed me back into the fire. I was blown to pieces. In Wendy's heart, my life was worth less than her love. My heart turned cold watching her refuse the braised pork Mrs. Zhao offered her. And in my mother's eyes, nothing about me was as important as her younger daughter. Seeing Wendy unwilling to eat, Mrs. Zhao told me to feed her. I let out a cold laugh. How dare I give Wendy these oily foods? I'm afraid she'd tear me apart right here. You feed a pig, you get a few pounds of meat. You feed a wolf in human skin, you lose your life. I turned my back and left. If you don't eat, then don't. You won't starve to death. Unexpectedly, seeing me not stay and cajole her as usual, Wendy flew into a rage, snatched the glass lunchbox from Mrs. Zhao's hand, and hurled it straight at my face. "Jane Jiang, you're happy seeing me faint from dieting while you're perfectly fine, aren't you? You're jealous of me. You don't care about me at all. You're probably thinking of how to replace me and marry Ethan Coe, right? I'll kill you, you bitch." At first, Mrs. Zhao feigned trying to mediate, but when she heard Wendy's words, her eyes also filled with resentment as she looked at me. "How did I give birth to such a shameless daughter like you? Do you even want to snatch your future brother-in-law?" The lunchbox hit my head, blood streaming down to my eye. I squeezed my eyes shut, coldly wiping the blood with my sleeve. Something similar had happened in my previous life, but that time I hadn't dodged in time, and a shard of glass had slashed a large gash on my cheek, leaving a horrible scar. This time, when Wendy threw the lunchbox, I intentionally used my hand to shield myself, but it still hit my head, leaving my face bloody and contorted in pain. I curved my lips, raising my voice. "I've given my all for you both. And this is how you think of me? Fine, I'm leaving. From now on, your affairs have nothing to do with me." With that, without waiting for the two of them to react, I opened the door and walked out. The hospital corridor was crowded with patients' families, doctors, and nurses. As soon as I left the room, the hatred on my face instantly turned into frustration and fury. A tear rolled down my cheek. I walked blankly towards the emergency area, attracting countless curious glances along the way. Some even held up their phones to record me, whispering and speculating. "What's going on?" I wiped my tears, forcing a strained smile. "Excuse me, could you please delete the videos on your phones? My sister and I had a small misunderstanding, but my sister is a public figure and can't afford to be involved in a scandal." Some people deleted the videos after hearing this, but others refused. I was the injured one. I couldn't snatch their phones and force them to delete, could I? Moreover, the video contained shocking hidden information. The person who hit me was a celebrity, making them even more curious and determined to keep it. Once everything was done, I couldn't hide a smug smile at the corner of my lips. That's right, I deliberately provoked Wendy to make her strike me. In my previous life, she had also thrown braised pork at my face, then feigned remorse and apologized. For the sake of sisterly affection, I forgave her and continued to work like a dog for her. But in this life, why should I endure it anymore? I wanted to make this incident blow up, using the braised pork incident to completely sever ties with them. while leaving Wendy with a bomb that could explode at any moment. How could I not fight back when she harmed me? There's no such illogical thing in this world. I was Mrs. Zhao's daughter from her previous marriage, an outcast living temporarily in someone else's home, forced to walk on eggshells. If I so much as ate an extra piece of meat, I'd be glared at. Whenever my stepfather was angry, I wasn't even allowed at the dinner table. Undernourished from childhood, I was always thin and small. Wendy, on the other hand, was Mrs. Zhao's biological daughter with my stepfather. From childhood, she had endless chicken drumsticks, eggs, and milk candy. By the age of 10, she was taller than me, her 15-year-old sister. Before meeting Ethan Coe, she was 168 cm tall and weighed 60 kg, the figure I always yearned for before I matured. Even though Wendy didn't treat me well, because she was spoiled by our parents, she never intentionally made things difficult for me, sometimes even bestowing me with some leftovers. I once thought my sister was very kind, just a bit of a pampered princess. But it was okay. She was beautiful and cute like a doll. In my eyes, she always needed to be cherished. That's why in my previous life, I always endured, always believing she was a good person. It was just a pity that after meeting Ethan Coe, Wendy became increasingly frantic, no longer liking her current self. She lost 10 kg in a week, to the point her face became hollow. Leaving the hospital, I washed my face thoroughly and went to a buffet alone. For 79 yuan, I loaded up 20 plates of meat and a pile of desserts. Even without braised pork or shrimp in oil sauce, it was still delicious. I ate until my mouth couldn't open anymore before stopping, completely stuffed. Mrs. Zhao called, "My daughter wants boiled vegetables. Come back and cook them, then bring them over." I rubbed my full stomach and flatly refused. "Can't, I'm busy." Her voice immediately shot up, scolding me for being selfish and irresponsible. "What are you busy with? Your most important job is taking care of my daughter?" I hung up before she could finish. I got into a car and headed to the film set. My makeup kit was still with the crew. Moreover, I was unwilling to be a mere makeup artist my whole life, forever living in Wendy's shadow. I wanted to climb higher than her. In my previous life, Wendy's acting was superficial. Many scripts were ones I had meticulously studied, annotated, and then recounted to her. For scenes she couldn't perform, I even privately coached her and demonstrated. At that time, the dream of becoming an actress had already sparked within me, but I never dared pursue it due to insecurities about my scarred appearance. But in this life, I wanted to try. Actresses like Wendy were abundant on set. As soon as she left the crew, her role would immediately be filled. Seizing the opportunity before things got too delayed, I went directly to the director, proactively asking to replace Wendy in her previous role. The director looked me over carefully a few times, found my conditions acceptable, and moreover, I bore some resemblance to Wendy, so he immediately agreed. Thus, the filming session lasted until midnight. Thanks to my excellent makeup skills, I fully integrated with the group of extras. Some even left their contact information, saying they would call me for future shoots. I nodded while answering Mrs. Zhao's call. "Jane Jiang, where are you? I'm worried sick, come home quickly." The voice on the other end was gentle, like coaxing a child, but inside, I only shivered. In my memory, she had only ever cajoled me twice. The first time was to make me drop out of high school to save money for Wendy's dance and art classes. The second was to make me quit my job at the cosmetic counter to become Wendy's assistant and makeup artist. She was accustomed to using a feigned weakness to impose moral obligations on me. In my previous life, when I was young and naive, a slight softening in her voice would bring tears to my eyes. I would even blame myself, find every reason to forgive, believing she truly loved me too. But did she really love me? Or did she just see me as a cheap tool, willing to give everything with just a few sweet words? Predictably, this time Mrs. Zhao wanted me to return to serve Wendy hand and foot. I politely listened to her instructions. On the way home, she even told me to stop by the supermarket to buy imported fruit for my sister. "Wendy loves Queen Nai grapes. Remember to buy a lot." A mocking smile slowly formed on my lips. "I'm not coming back. Who said I would?" I was sitting in a corner of the film set with a group of extras, watching the director scold a minor actress. The weather was turning colder, approaching winter. The actress refused to get into the water. Mrs. Zhao was stunned, asking me, "What did you say? Wasn't it clear enough at the hospital? Let me reiterate. From now on, your affairs have nothing to do with me. I gave my all for her and Wendy, yet I was met with suspicion and blame." Fine, whoever wants to serve Wendy can serve her. I won't do it anymore. As her assistant, I earned 2,000 yuan a month, and I still had to spend my own money on expensive vegetables. As an extra, I get 200 yuan a day with extra pay for lines. I can buy cheap food and get as big and healthy as a giant. Before hanging up, I heard Wendy's scream on the phone. Jane Jiang, if you have the guts, never come back. Wait until I'm famous, you'll regret it. I only gave a cold laugh and walked straight to the director who was still scolding someone. In this life, I want to cut ties with that toxic family and live for myself. As for Wendy, I want to see if, without me, she can truly achieve the great love she dreams of. A month later, Ethan Coe's new romance topped the hot searches. The marketing accounts videos were blurry, showing only him passionately kissing a girl in a luxury car. Comments buzzed with guesses about her identity, but only I immediately recognized Wendy. She had finally got her wish to be with Ethan Coe. She even used a secondary account to manipulate public opinion, letting everyone know the person in the photo was her, wanting the whole world to know she was Ethan Coe's canary. Meanwhile, I had been toiling on film sets for a month, preparing to return for my luggage. As I reached downstairs, I saw Wendy post on Weibo. The image was a half-body shot of her, but clearly, a man's hand with distinct joints and bones gently embraced her slender waist. The caption read, "Long awaited, finally fulfilled." Ethan Coe didn't post, but he liked her post. I walked out of the elevator with a cold smile. As I entered the hallway, I heard excited screams from inside the house. Mom, I succeeded. See, Ethan Coe loves me so much now. I opened the door to find Wendy embracing Mrs. Zhao, spinning her around while my stepfather stood by, grinning. The three of them were overjoyed. Seeing me enter, their smiles immediately faded. Mrs. Zhao glanced at my stepfather's sullen face, then turned to me, speaking coldly, "You found your way back. Why don't you just die out there?" I had 8 lifetimes of bad luck to give birth to a useless thing like you. Ignoring her insults, I went straight into my room to pack. She followed me to the door, scolding me for being a poor student, only fit to serve others. If it weren't for your sister's pity, would you have such a decent, easy job? She droned on about how I had to kneel to tie Wendy's shoelaces, which she called dignity, stayed up all night to alter Wendy's costumes, which she called easy, and spent hours combing her wigs. Mom, don't scold her anymore. She's still very clever. She saw that Huey Joe and I are together now, so she knows her place and came back to flatter us. Wendy beamed, approaching and linking arms with Mrs. Zhao, pouting playfully. Now I'm getting my appetite back. Jobs like assistant are best done by family. It's more reassuring. I don't mind her. Looking at her, she was getting thinner and thinner, just skin and bones, with gray skin and a pale, withered face. My daughter truly understands and cares, Mrs. Zhao said softly, patting Wendy's hand, then turned to me with a cold face, instructing, "Thank your sister." I pointed to the wound on my head, speaking directly to both of them. This kind of dignified and easy job, I invite you to do it yourself. I'm sure you'll feel much more reassured doing it than I would. I finished packing, brushed past them, and walked straight out the door. Mrs. Zhao froze, as if only now realizing I truly intended to leave. What do you mean? Are you really leaving this house? I placed the house keys on the table, my actions telling her. Yes. The moment the door closed, I heard her howling. If you leave this house, don't ever come back. As soon as I got on the bus, Wendy messaged me on WeChat. Jane Jiang, you really are a bitch. Do you know how many people out there want to butter me up but don't get the chance? I gave you an opportunity and you didn't even appreciate it. You truly are ungrateful. You couldn't even grasp a golden opportunity. Remember your pathetic state now. Don't you dare shamelessly ask me for help if you regret it later. I didn't care. I immediately blocked her account. Wendy only knew that Ethan Coe was a rich crown prince in the entertainment industry and thought that by being with him, she could change her life and do whatever she wanted. But she didn't know that Ethan Coe had an extremely strong possessive streak and suffered from an almost pathological obsessive-compulsive disorder. All his ex-girlfriends had to maintain the exact measurements and weight he demanded. Neither excess nor deficit was allowed. He was like a sculptor, turning each girlfriend into a perfect doll. But as soon as a doll resisted or disobeyed, she would be tortured and then discarded until he found his next prey. I learned about this from some of my extra friends on the film crew. They'd been in countless film sets, holding endless backstage stories and news about the upper echelons, most of which were true. I heard Ethan Coe's previous girlfriend was also an actress, and she had suffered a mental breakdown. I took a deep breath. While Wendy was basking in her newfound success, I used a burner account to befriend Ethan Coe and sent him a few photos. Wendy was so eager to give me the opportunity to cling to his thigh, so I had to return the favor, right? For example, a few photos of Ethan Coe embracing and kissing other women even prettier and more slender than Wendy. Ever since I'd been reborn, I often had nightmares. Seeing Wendy pushing me into a sea of flames, bombs exploding around me, no escape. Those intimate photos of Ethan Coe with other women were taken by me during a drunken trip to a bar, right after I woke up from a nightmare. At that time, even though Ethan Coe hadn't publicly announced his relationship with Wendy, their connection was ambiguous enough. Yet, he was still embracing and kissing others, clearly not truly sincere with her. After sending the photos, I also blocked Wendy's account. So, Wendy, take your time and enjoy this romance she exchanged for my life and her own health. I don't know if she later confronted Ethan Coe, but the next day, when I saw Wendy and Mrs. Zhao on screen, I clearly noticed Wendy's dark under-eye circles and distinct handprints on Mrs. Zhao's face. Neither concealer nor foundation could hide them. Half a month later, Wendy began appearing frequently on popular TV shows. Under the guise of Ethan Coe's girlfriend, her management company prioritized resources for her, and her popularity soared. Her Weibo follower count skyrocketed. Many fans praised her for being thin and beautiful, asking for her weight loss secrets. So, she made a video introducing her carb-cutting weight loss method. Mom and I eat together. Mom has also lost nearly 10 kg. In the video, in front of Wendy and Mrs. Zhao, was a plate of plain boiled green vegetables with no seasoning. She took a tiny bite, acting as if she were eating a gourmet meal, her face filled with satisfaction. In contrast, Mrs. Zhao tried to force a smile, unable to get the vegetables into her mouth. But that didn't stop fans from eagerly imitating her, with some even commenting daily to check in. Of course, a few sensible people voiced their doubts. When Wendy was live streaming, I reminded her about the harms of cutting carbs. Unfortunately, she didn't bother to listen, even rolling her eyes, cursing them out, and blocking them. I suspect she didn't even realize the side effects of carb cutting were already showing: easy irritability, unprovoked temper, exploding at the slightest trigger. I watched her scold people on the live stream while eating 3 full meal boxes from the film crew. The other extras eating with me all said they had never seen a girl eat as heartily as I did. I just smiled without refuting, shamelessly saying I was still growing. Since leaving the Jiang household, I had eaten well, slept soundly, and maintained my healthy habits from my previous life: early to bed, early to rise, and diligent exercise. Not only did I not gain weight, but I also grew 3 cm taller. After getting into makeup for a stage appearance, even the director praised my casting choice, encouraging me to act well so he would invite me back. This time, I played a small maid with 3 lines, a role I got thanks to a previous film director. Last time, when I filled in for an actress who dared not get into cold water, he praised my acting. When I was trembling, leaving the set, he even gave me the business card of the director from the neighboring crew. Initially, that director saw me as thin and small, with an unremarkable appearance, and refused. I insisted on an impromptu audition, and he finally nodded. I have to thank Wendy for all of this. In my previous life, although she got into film school, she was only interested in playing around and eating. I attended all her theory classes for her. Later, following her to various film sets, I met many veteran actors and famous directors. I secretly learned quite a bit, and now I finally have a chance to use it. Just a few days later, Wendy unexpectedly appeared on the film set. The moment she saw me, she shrieked, "Why is she still here?" Knowing I was still on set as an extra, Wendy sneered maliciously. "Someone like you dreams of being an actress? Most domestic films are funded by Ethan Coe back then. You didn't know your place. Now I'll make sure you can't even get an extra role." She was true to her word. I was immediately removed from the schedule. I heard Ethan Coe injected an additional $5 million in investment, and the original female lead was replaced by Wendy. I sat in a corner, watching her being chauffeured around like a queen, exuding immense presence. Mrs. Zhao stood beside her, serving tea and water, dripping with sweat. Yet Wendy took one sip and slammed the cup to the ground, scolding her mother as if she were a servant. "I told you to make it warm water. Don't you understand human language? How can I drink it this hot?" The cup rolled to my feet. Mrs. Zhao could only pick it up, enduring the humiliation. As she bent down, I saw her eyes were red. She saw me too. Her eyes lit up, but I just looked at her gaunt cheeks without saying a word. Until she approached me, telling me to apologize to Wendy and return to being her assistant. Who can take care of her as well as you? Your old mother keeps making her angry. Before, she always thought I had it easy following Wendy. Every time she saw me, she would scold me as if slapping me in the face. It wasn't until she herself became Wendy's assistant that she realized how hard it was. Despite being tormented, she still felt guilty and rattled on to me. How Wendy couldn't sleep, was losing her hair, and constantly caught colds. I just found it amusing. Those were all consequences of her extreme dieting. But even if I told them, they wouldn't believe it, even turning to blame me instead. Tired of her nagging, I suddenly looked into her dull eyes and asked, "What about you, Mom?" "I'm only worried about Wendy." "But what about you? Are you healthy? Are you happy?" Mrs. Zhao began to fidget, her face stiff, her nose stinging, almost bursting into tears. Following Wendy was truly too much hardship for her. She probably thought I still felt pity. She was about to speak, but I flashed a radiant smile, returning her own words to her. "Wendy is so considerate, isn't she? Seeing Mom is pitiful. She gives Mom such an easy job, but why can't Mom even do that properly? Look at how Mom has taken care of her. Truly useless. How can I have such an ungrateful mother like you?" Mrs. Zhao's face froze, tears welling up in her eyes immediately choked back. I smiled gleefully and turned to leave. Just then there was a commotion from Wendy's side. Mrs. Zhao flinched, glared at me, then turned and rushed back to her daughter, not bothering to look back at me. I was far away, so I couldn't hear what Wendy was arguing about with the female staff member, only seeing her use her height advantage to grab the opponent's collar and slap her twice. The supporting actress, Selene Chin, although not high in status, was still a notch above Wendy. Yet she was slapped to the point of sobbing, not daring to resist. The entire film crew gathered around to watch the spectacle. Many people secretly recorded videos. A sharp-eyed extra whispered in my ear, "Selene Chin is the former female lead's best friend. She probably said something to defend her friend and angered Wendy. Who would have thought that girl would actually hit her? This girl is still too young. She doesn't understand that karma turns." The extra shook her head and tutted, thinking Wendy was just arrogant because she had Ethan Coe's backing. Only I truly understood that her short temper was a consequence of long-term carb and sugar cutting. This drama only ended when the director, accompanied by a man in a suit, entered. The moment she saw him, Wendy immediately rushed into his arms, pouting and begging him to replace Selene Chin's role. The man put an arm around Wendy's waist, didn't bother to ask for a reason, and just shot a glance at the director. The director immediately bowed obsequiously, ordering Selene Chin, who was still sitting on the ground sobbing hysterically, to be escorted off the set. Immediately after, another group of people entered, carrying bags full of small gifts. They distributed them to everyone on the crew. I opened my bag to see a Hermes silk scarf. Only when almost everyone had received one did Ethan Coe speak up. "Sorry for interrupting your work. Please accept these small gifts as an apology. Let's consider today's incident as if it never happened." He used this method to force everyone, whether they had recorded videos or not, to keep silent. Throughout the entire event, Wendy clung tightly to him like an accessory, her eyes smug, her smile radiant. I also smiled, handed the silk scarf to an older extra actress, and turned to leave the set. Outside the set, Selene Chin, who had just been slapped, was still crying. I walked over and gently patted her shoulder. "Would you like to become Ethan Coe's woman, replacing Wendy Jiang?" Selene Chin, though not famous and still young, was a former child actress who had accumulated quite a network of contacts and friends in the industry. The previously replaced female lead and an ex-girlfriend who had been driven mad by Ethan Coe were both friends of Selene Chin. Now, having offended Wendy, Ethan Coe's new lover, Selene Chin would naturally be blacklisted from many films. Hatred and defiance flared in her eyes. She gritted her teeth and nodded. "What do I need to do?" I immediately drew up a comprehensive physical training and diet plan for her, striving to help her meet Ethan Coe's aesthetic standards within a month in the healthiest way possible. Selene Chin was very diligent and trusted me deeply. I told her I would check the results after a month. After that, I returned to the film set, continuing to observe and learn from experienced actors. In my previous life, Wendy was actually very wary of me. Whenever she acted, she would find excuses to send me elsewhere, not giving me any opportunity to learn or improve. In this life, I had the time and the conditions. I was also quick-witted, spoke pleasantly, and had makeup skills. Occasionally, when the professional makeup artist was busy, I would help do makeup for the extras, doing it many times. Although no one dared openly hire me out of fear of Ethan Co., after each shoot, I still received a decent amount of compensation. In my free time, I would wander over to see how terribly Wendy was acting. She couldn't even memorize a 3-line dialogue after a whole morning. The director's face was as black as coal, but he didn't dare get angry, only venting his frustration on others. He criticized the scriptwriter, then scolded the minor actors for not knowing how to act, finally compromising. He had Wendy read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so they could dub her lines in post-production, who knew she would feel humiliated and insist on speaking her lines herself. The result was that the entire day's shoot only produced those 3 lines. Her memory decline was also due to prolonged lack of carbohydrates. Unfortunately, Wendy paid no attention. As soon as filming was over, she immediately retreated to her manager's car to livestream. While chatting with fans, she shared her dinner still boiled vegetables, which sent shivers down my spine. Today was a little different. After eating, she took out a bottle of pills and swallowed 2. Some sharp-eyed fans asked, "Are you taking diet pills, sister?" She neither confirmed nor denied. "I've reached a plateau now, I need some extra help. This kind is really effective. I've only been taking it for 3 days and already lost 2 kg. Everyone can try it too." She deliberately revealed the name of the medicine. I immediately looked it up and discovered it was a 3-no product. No brand, no inspection, no certification, and extremely expensive, only purchasable by adding the seller on WeChat. Clearly, although Wendy didn't say anything outwardly, she was still affected by the intimate photos I sent about Ethan Co., to the point of taking diet pills. I just didn't know if that particular medicine was as effective as she claimed. I looked at the comment section, flooded with fans urging to buy, then slightly frowned and immediately called Selene Chin, instructing her to livestream every time she worked out or dieted. While I couldn't stop Wendy's fans from buying the pills, I could have Selene Chin promote healthy weight loss methods. Moreover, I had my own selfish motive. I was very much looking forward to it. If Wendy knew that Selene Chin got thinner thanks to the weight loss plan I designed, I wondered how furious she would become. If a thinner Selene Chin also snatched the man Wendy loved most, what would become of her then? A week later, while I was doing makeup for an extra, I received an urgent call from Mrs. Zhao. "Come home quickly, your sister is in trouble." What does that have to do with me? I'm not a doctor nor a rescuer. I hung up. Just then, my phone displayed a notification. Actress accused of promoting inhumane fake diet pills to the extreme. I clicked it open, and sure enough, Wendy's name appeared. The news reported that many fans who had used the diet pills she promoted suffered from continuous vomiting and diarrhea, with some even developing severe kidney failure and being admitted to the ICU. They were still in critical condition. The victims' parents had stormed Wendy's management company and private residence, demanding an apology and compensation. Fans who had bought the pills through her also unanimously turned their backs, screaming for refunds in the comment sections. I put my phone away, sticking to my principle of watching the fire burn from a distance, silently observing Wendy's step-by-step descent into a public relations crisis. Since the incident, she hadn't appeared or offered any explanation. I guess she was running to Ethan Co. for damage control, but this time, the Crown Prince seemed unusually slow to react. An entire night passed without any movement. Conversely, the victims' families confirmed they would sue Wendy with a lawyer. I had just finished an overnight shoot and was about to go home to catch up on sleep when Mrs. Zhao unexpectedly stopped me. "Jane Jiang," her voice was tired, probably having stayed up all night worrying about Wendy. I looked up and saw Wendy's manager's car in the distance. Wendy was also there. Mrs. Zhao seized the opportunity to grasp my hand, her voice urgent and pathetic. "My good daughter, can you please get in the car and see your sister for a moment? You must have seen the news online. Your sister is very confused right now. She needs someone strong by her side." Before, Wendy was just a minor actress. Her management company rarely cared about PR crises. I, as her assistant, handled everything. Now she had some fame but relied on Ethan Co. The Crown Prince hadn't spoken, and the company dared not intervene. If they tried to handle it themselves, they had no capability. So, they came to me again. I was curious what tricks they would pull this time, but I didn't want to talk in their car. I removed Mrs. Zhao's hand and walked towards the breakfast diner across the street. If she wants to see me, she can come herself. 10 minutes later, my bowl of beef noodles was served, and Wendy reluctantly sat opposite me. The air was filled with the very ordinary, very real smell of food. She was covered from head to toe, hat, mask, sunglasses, nothing missing but her gaunt neck was still exposed, her swallowing and cheek-puffing movements clearly visible. That was her primitive craving for food. Mrs. Zhao wasn't much better, her eyes fixed on someone else's fried dough stick, not blinking once. After I had eaten for a while, Wendy finally spoke with difficulty, her voice hoarse. "Sister, please go to jail for me. Say that you forced me to sell the diet pills." I almost thought I misheard, looking up to see Mrs. Zhao watching me, awaiting my response. Even though I knew they were shameless, I was once again shocked by their audacity. I thought they wanted to discuss a solution, but unexpectedly they had already planned everything, pushing me to my death. Seeing my silence, Mrs. Zhao immediately changed her tone, cajoling, "Jane Jiang, your sister is on the rise and she has such a good boyfriend. She can't have her future ruined by this. That person, though pitiful, has nothing to do with us." That was a human life, a young woman who almost died because of Wendy. I couldn't take it anymore. I threw my chopsticks down, looking at them coldly. Before, I thought they were just selfish. Now I saw they were utterly cold-blooded. In their eyes, I wasn't important, and neither were other people's lives. Only Wendy's career and love came first. "What's all the fuss about? Won't I pay you?" Wendy impatiently lowered her voice, as if bestowing a favor. "If you agree to go to jail, I'll compensate you 100,000 yuan, okay?" The diner was full of extras from the film set. Occasionally, acquaintances would greet me. They also looked at Wendy with curiosity. She instinctively reached up to adjust her sunglasses, inadvertently exposing crisscrossing white scars on the back of her hand and wrist. I immediately guessed a few things and smiled faintly, deliberately asking, "Isn't your boyfriend very powerful? Why doesn't he find a way to help you resolve this?" Wendy flinched slightly, quickly hiding her bony hands in her sleeves, sitting up straight, trying to remain calm. "This is a small matter. I can handle it myself. No need to bother him." I picked up my chopsticks and continued eating my noodles, not exposing her lie. From the moment I saw her again, I had noticed she was even thinner, like a bean sprout, easily knocked over by the wind. She naively thought that losing weight by taking diet pills would make Ethan Coe love her more, but she didn't know that it would only drive him crazier, even leading to abuse. The wounds on her body were punishment from Ethan Coe, and as for the diet pills incident, he had deliberately not intervened. "Jane Jiang, we are family, so we should help each other. Can you help your sister this time?" Mrs. Zhao began playing the emotional card, taking my hand and recounting old stories. "When she was little, Grandma gave your sister a piece of milk candy, and she held on to it, not daring to eat it, saying she was saving it for you." I remembered that story for a very long time. At that time, Wendy was truly adorable, one of the rare warm rays in my childhood. In my previous life, it was precisely because of that candy that I always endured and forgave her. But what was the result? Only resentment and revenge. Hearing those words again now, I only felt nauseous. She said it was a small matter. "Then don't bother me anymore, go to jail yourself." I pulled my hand away from hers, turned my back, and left. "Jane Jiang!" Mrs. Zhao shouted behind me, chasing and blocking me. The cold wind blew her black and white hair around, but her voice was authoritative. "If you don't agree today, we'll sever our mother-daughter relationship. I'll consider that I never gave birth to a cold-blooded thing like you." I calmly watched her shout, then sidestepped her and continued walking. Fine. Before, I always naively believed that mothers were born to love their children. As long as Mrs. Zhao was a little gentle, I would cling to her with all my might. Only later did I learn that she had never loved me. I was merely an obstacle in her way. Now, I no longer have any expectations for motherly love. If I could sever the relationship, I would be more than happy. But before I could complete the household registration transfer, Wendy's problem was solved. I don't know what she did to appease Ethan Coe in just one afternoon. All negative news online was wiped clean. The victims' families, who had intended to sue, withdrew their complaints, choosing to settle amicably. Immediately after, her management company issued a statement saying Wendy was also a victim, and the seller of the fake diet pills had been arrested by the police and was awaiting prosecution. When Wendy returned to the film set, she was as dazzling as ever. She glanced at me, smirked with her red lips, and told the director, "I've already informed all the directors in the industry. If anyone dares to cast Jane Jiang in a film, it's going against Ethan Coe. Even hiring her as a makeup artist is forbidden. He holds a grudge, clearly wanting to blacklist me from the entire industry. The others, unaware of our past, looked at me with pity. I said nothing, packed my makeup kit, and turned to leave. What's the hurry? The real show hasn't even begun yet. Precisely because the diet pill incident caused such a huge uproar, Selene Chin unexpectedly gained attention. She live-streamed daily, updating her weight. In just half a month, she lost 7-8 kg, looking full of vitality, even having attractive V-line abs. Both guys and girls were obsessed. Lately, I'd been idle, spending time in Selene Chin's live-stream room, watching her exercise. Selene Chin secretly made me her room manager and boldly stated that the weight loss plan was custom designed by me for her. As soon as she said that, her Weibo account, which only Selene Chin followed me on, suddenly soared by millions of followers, and my inbox was flooded. I panicked and had to lock all messages. After that, I selected a few people and sent them the 1-month weight loss plan as requested. The following week, Selene Chin's livestream viewership continued to climb. Those I had sent the meal plans to also began reporting results, collectively updating their weight loss progress. Selene Chin was genuinely famous now. That day, I was slurping a bowl of noodles when a cool-looking special effects account appeared in the livestream. I immediately recognized it as Ethan Ko. Selene Chin messaged me privately. He had entered my livestream before. I had messaged him privately before that, but since Ethan Ko and Wendy reconciled, he hadn't returned. I didn't expect to see him again this time. This time, Ethan Ko, without a word, topped up nearly 1 million in gifts for Selene Chin. For the last week of the 1-month weight loss plan, Ethan Ko visited Selene Chin's livestream every day. At the end of the month, Selene Chin turned off her livestream and attended a fashion gala. Unlike Wendy's pale, porcelain doll-like appearance, Selene Chin was healthy, beautiful, and full of vitality. To Ethan Ko, who was accustomed to sickly beauty, she was like a completely different doll, with a deadly charm. So, when she appeared at the party, his eyes were immediately drawn to her. Wendy, standing beside her, was instantly overshadowed, her smile gradually fading. I pretended to be a backstage staff member, hiding in a corner, eating desserts, and watching her cling to Ethan Ko's arm, pouting, trying to regain his attention. But unfortunately, the crown prince seemed impatient, not even bothering to glance at her, walking straight to Selene Chin. I almost burst out laughing, picked up a few more chocolates, and turned to leave. A few days later, when I returned to the film set, everything had completely changed. The director pointed directly at Wendy's face, scolding her severely. "You studied 3 hours of dialogue and still can't remember a single line. The extras have better memories than you." The staff who used to fawn over her were nowhere to be found. Only Mrs. Zhao remained by her side, bowing and apologizing continuously. There was no more manager's car for lunch. She had to queue with everyone else for a boxed meal. Wendy frowned in annoyance. "Why are there no green vegetables?" The staff rolled their eyes. "If you don't eat, then scram. Do you think you're a princess?" She was about to throw a tantrum, but Mrs. Zhao pulled her aside to sit and eat. After picking and choosing for a long time, she finally picked up a single bean sprout, put it in her mouth, and immediately vomited it out after swallowing. "Teacher Jiang, don't you like vegetables the most? Why are you throwing up?" Selene Chin, arm linked with Ethan Ko, walked onto the set, a radiant smile on her face. From after the gala, she had become the crown prince's favorite. She could have clearly chosen better scripts, but she insisted on joining the same crew as Wendy, even proactively taking on the role of the wicked second female lead, just to be able to slap Wendy at any time. For example now, she called the director over and suggested, "The scene between the female lead and second female lead is a bit bland. How about we add a scene where I slap her to increase the drama?" Wendy's face fluctuated between green and white. She bit her lip, watching Ethan Ko stand there indifferently. She softly called, "Huai Zhou," her voice full of pitifulness, hoping to evoke his sympathy. It was said that after being ruthlessly dumped by Ethan Ko, Wendy was given a 2 million yuan check and then cut off. She cried all night outside the Ko family villa, eventually being kicked out by security. Now, Ethan Ko still paid her no mind, only coming to escort Selene Chin and then leaving immediately. Wendy still wouldn't give up, chasing and clinging. "Huai Zhou, I'm the one who truly loves you. I can do anything for you. Don't abandon me." Tears streamed down her face. Just as she was about to touch his clothes, she was blocked by a bodyguard. With just a slight push, she weakly fell to the ground. Before getting in the car, Ethan Ko finally deigned to turn his head, glancing at her with utter disgust. Go look in a mirror. Who would like a dried corpse? Soy's is a place where appearances matter, and news spreads faster than the media. Dumped yesterday, today the makeup artist was slapdash. The flaws usually hidden were now all exposed. Her sallow, sagging skin, vacant eyes, receding hairline, coupled with her withered, thin body, indeed made her look like a dried corpse. Wendy was silent for a few seconds, then suddenly clutched her head, screamed, and fainted on the spot. Everyone looked towards Mrs. Zhao, who awkwardly called for an ambulance. No one went to help. Selene Chin walked closer to me, handing me a director's business card. Your fee after the transaction is successful. In my previous life, even without winning Ethan Co., Wendy still managed to become a star overnight thanks to a big director. But in this life, that opportunity belonged to me. That evening, as I was preparing to film a self-introduction video to send to the director, my phone rang. Mrs. Zhao called, ordering me to find the mysterious blogger who had helped Selene Chin lose weight. Wendy's gloomy voice was beside her. Find him for me. No matter how much he asks, I'll pay. I want him to design a weight loss plan for me too. Once I'm thin, I'll snatch Huey Joe back from that bitch Selene Chin, and then I'll make her die. This time, I truly couldn't help but burst into laughter. Wendy's voice turned shrill. What are you laughing at, you useless bitch? I cleared my throat, unable to hide my amusement. Of course, I'm laughing at your stupidity. That year, I tried my best to advise Wendy. I told her to lose weight in a healthy way, but she thought I was trying to harm her. And now, she's begging me to design a weight loss plan for her. I spoke slowly. Wendy Jiang, don't you find Selene Chin's weight loss plan familiar? It should be familiar, because I am the blogger who designed her weight loss plan. A few seconds later, I heard Wendy's heartbreaking scream on the phone, followed by hospital sirens and Mrs. Zhao's curses directed at me. I immediately hung up and gently put my phone away. An hour later, Mrs. Zhao still wouldn't give up and called again. I'm in a good mood, so I'll humor her and answer. Mrs. Zhao said, Wendy at the hospital was not only diagnosed with anorexia, but also found to have a shadow in her stomach. Further tests are needed, she sighed. Jane Jiang, you blame me for not taking good care of Wendy, but I'm so tired. If only you were here with me now, how wonderful that would be. I knew immediately she was playing the victim card again to extract sympathy from me. I remained unmoved, simply saying coldly, I'm going to sleep, and prepared to hang up. Suddenly, Wendy's voice rang out through the receiver. Jane Jiang, you've come back, haven't you? You came back before me. You want to ruin me? No way. Her voice was frantic and incoherent, but I immediately understood. She had awakened and she had also been reborn. Reborn, just as I was about to push her into hell, the phone call was cut off. I clutched my phone tightly, resolving that I would absolutely not give Wendy any chance to turn the tables. That evening, I filmed 2 videos, one self-introduction and one audition piece, then sent them to the email address on the big director's business card. The next morning, I received a reply. Sorry, I don't work with actors who have scandals. Before I could understand what was happening, Selene Chin sent me a video. I opened it to see Wendy sitting on a hospital bed, crying and accusing her mother and sister of mistreating her. At home, if I ate an extra piece of meat, I'd be scolded. Besides green vegetables, I wasn't allowed to eat anything else. She portrayed herself as a pitiful child, deprived of food and clothing for years, then accused me and Mrs. Zhao of exploiting her appearance, causing her to develop an eating disorder. The video, uploaded in the middle of the previous night, already had over 10 million views. Wendy successfully gained the sympathy of netizens. The comment section was filled with curses directed at me and Mrs. Zhao. This was her first counterattack after her rebirth. The big director must have rejected me because of that video. Wendy's image was too deceptive. She thought I wouldn't be able to refute it, but unfortunately, I had evidence. Using the excuse of transferring my household registration, I made a trip back to the Jiang house to collect evidence. As soon as I arrived at the community gate, people pointed and whispered. I didn't care, but I wondered how Mrs. Zhao felt at that moment. The daughter she cherished like an egg had shamed her online, leaving her to be judged by the world. Now, she was turning around to beg for my forgiveness. Wendy sat at the dining table. In front of her was finally not just green vegetables, but a full spread of meat and fish, yet her eyes were full of hostility, mixed with a hint of fear that was hard to discern. A person who had committed murder, facing their surviving victim returning, fear was natural. I smiled faintly, walked into the room to get the household registration book, and casually picked up the notebook hidden under the bed, tucking it into my pocket. Mrs. Zhao stood at the door, holding a bowl of rice, her voice commanding, "Have you thought it through? Eat properly, act decently, don't love Ethan Co. anymore, come back and be her assistant. I'll pay you $5,000 a month, it's better than being an extra out there." I found it ridiculous. Even at this point, she was still defending Wendy. She slandered me online, and I was still supposed to come back and be her assistant. Was she out of her mind? I couldn't stay in that place for another second. I rushed out the door, took photos of the notebook, and uploaded them online immediately. Looking at each clearly recorded expense in the notebook, I felt choked up. Since childhood, Mrs. Zhao had always nagged me, "You've spent so much of Mr. Jiang's money, you have to pay it back when you grow up." I always knew that even if she changed my surname to Jiang, I would still be an outsider in that house. That's why I formed the habit of keeping records in that notebook from a young age. Each line clearly showed that apart from tuition fees and 2 cheap outfits costing over 10 yuan each year, I barely spent anything else. I was not the cruel older sister. The one cherished from beginning to end was always Wendy. Public opinion completely reversed thanks to the notebook. Then, a series of passers-by came forward to testify, saying I was the one who was truly bullied. After all, many people still had the video of Wendy throwing a bowl of vegetables at me in the hospital. Mrs. Zhao called, scolding me for being ungrateful, which I hung up on, then went to WeChat to curse me from the day I was born until now. Clearly, she was also scolded for favoritism, but for Wendy, she was willing to endure it. When it was my turn, she went ballistic. She even specially recorded a video clarifying that Jiang Min was not biased. She treated both daughters equally. Wendy also chimed in, saying, "It was just 2 sisters having a playful argument." Unfortunately, netizens weren't fools. No one believed those words. They forced Wendy to livestream and apologize to me publicly. She even pretended to be a good sister, posting on Weibo inviting me to dinner at a Western restaurant that evening. I didn't bother to reply, nor did I intend to go. After all, I didn't believe she would sincerely apologize. Wendy was ignored for 2 days, only receiving a wave of mockery from netizens. Conversely, thanks to this incident, I gained a large number of followers. The big director's misunderstanding of me was also resolved. He invited me to meet and talk for an entire afternoon. Based on my memories from my previous life, everything I said was what he wanted to hear. At the end of our conversation, he immediately decided to cast me as the female lead in his new film and called in the creative team. We discussed the script on the spot. At the end, he suggested taking a commemorative photo. I stood in the middle, smiling at the camera, lamenting how ironic fate was. In my previous life, this position belonged to Wendy, and I wasn't even worthy of being in the frame. After the photo, the director pulled me aside to talk more. As we walked out of the cafe, a dark figure suddenly darted towards us, pushing me aside and grabbing the director's arm. "Director, I'm your female lead. She's just an imposter." I was almost shoved onto the main road, struggling to regain my balance, then clearly saw it was Wendy. She frantically tried to prove she was the female lead, talking about creative ideas and reciting lines, but it was all chaotic, jumbled, and lacked coherence. In my previous life, she was invited to coffee multiple times thanks to her close relationship with the director. Today, she probably just came to try her luck without any preparation. The director, annoyed, pushed her hand away. "Who are you? Are you an escaped mental patient?" I quickly hailed a taxi, blocking Wendy, who was about to lunge again. We quickly got into the car, ignoring her as she pounded on the window, screaming, "Jane Jiang, you're a thief. You stole my future. I won't let you get away with this." Before the car drove off, I turned my head and smiled at her. "How am I a thief? I just got here a step before you, worked a little harder, and remembered a little better. Everything I have now is what I deserve." Initially, I thought she would retaliate, but after waiting a week, there was still no movement. I only received a call from Mrs. Zhao. She was crying, saying, "Wendy has been diagnosed with stomach cancer, terminal stage. At most, she has 1 year left to live." Her voice was both panicked and desperate. "Jane Jiang, what should we do now?" "Only now do you ask me what to do? When she starved herself and took diet pills, did you stop her?" I let out a bitter laugh, hanging up without a word. I didn't block her number, only because I wanted to keep it to listen to her jokes. After that, I joined the film crew. 3 months after filming wrapped, as soon as I opened my phone, I received a flurry of missed calls, mostly from Mrs. Zhao. The first month had the most calls, then they gradually tapered off. I went to the hospital. Wendy lay on the hospital bed, still having the strength to lash out at Mrs. Zhao, swinging her arm and knocking over a glass of water. shards of glass scattered everywhere. While Mrs. Zhao was outside emptying the trash, I snuck into the hospital room, wanting to see with my own eyes the person who had once killed me. Look at you now. You stole everything from me. You must be very pleased with yourself, aren't you? Her voice was so weak, as if she was about to die. I stood beside her, staring at her bony face for a while, then retorted, "Why don't you say this is karma? Because you deliberately killed me." Wendy's pupils constricted, her eyes slowly shifting from fear to regret. She looked at me, stammering, tears streaming down her cheeks. If I had known this path. Before she could finish, Mrs. Zhao returned. She froze when she saw me, a flicker of light in her cloudy eyes. "Jane Jiang, you finally came to visit Mom?" I curled my lips into a cold smile. "You're thinking too much, Mom. I just came to see if Wendy was dead yet." Mrs. Zhao's face immediately turned pale. She quietly asked if I could eat lunch with her. Her hair had become much grayer, her complexion terribly haggard, completely devoid of her former scolding vigor, as if she had completely despaired of life. But what did that have to do with me? I pretended not to hear. I walked past her. That evening, I received another message from Mrs. Zhao. She said, "Jane Jiang, Mom regrets it." For months, when she couldn't reach me by phone, she would text. It was unclear if she was complaining or treating me as a trash can to vent her frustrations. Her husband was unreliable, only scolding her for not taking care of their daughter, but never helping himself, even taking their daughter's medical money to gamble. She also recounted how Wendy's temper worsened after falling ill, tormenting her to death and back. I didn't reply to any messages, I just deleted them all. After that, her messages became less frequent. If there were any, they would only ask if I was doing well, as if suddenly remembering she had a daughter named Jane Jiang and reminding me to dress warmly when it was cold. I still didn't reply. Under the arrangements of my new management company, I gradually entered the public eye. 3 months later, the film premiered to extremely high acclaim. Overnight, I went from an unknown name to the center of attention. Like Wendy in my previous life, I became the hottest new actress. On the same day, I received a call from the police station. They said Mrs. Zhao had jumped from the hospital roof with Wendy. At that moment, I was attending the film's wrap-up party. Everyone who passed me offered congratulations. I froze for a few seconds before regaining my composure. Then, I declined the offer to retrieve Mrs. Zhao's suicide note and to cremate her and Wendy's remains together. "Thank you." I poured a glass of wine and toasted in the direction of the hospital, as if thanking Mrs. Zhao for bringing me into this world. The news of Wendy and Mrs. Zhao's suicide quickly topped search trends. People who had been cursed when alive now evoked pity and compassion in death. But before long, news about Wendy was overshadowed by another incident. Seeing the massive headline on top trending, I unconsciously clenched my hands tightly. Ethan Coe arrested for involvement in prostitution, triads, and drugs. Selene Chin had single-handedly infiltrated his lair to gather evidence, though outwardly she remained calm. Sitting in the plaintiff's seat, she even winked at me. But when I saw all the evidence afterwards, it was hard not to imagine what she had been through. Beside Selene Chin were 20-60 other girls. Some were terrifyingly obese, some were skin and bones like sticks of wood. Some had vacant eyes, some had arms covered in needle marks, some wore colostomy bags, and some, like Wendy, had already been reduced to ashes. Through the victims' testimonies, the cruel and barbaric methods Ethan Coe had used were gradually exposed to everyone. It was then that I understood that compared to what those other girls had endured, Wendy was the luckiest. She hadn't even had time to be tortured by Ethan Coe. He had simply grown tired of her and replaced her with Selene Chin. In court, Selene Chin's words rang out with full force. Ethan Coe's beatings and humiliation were commonplace. He not only tortured us physically and mentally, but if we resisted, he would use psychiatric drugs to control us. Many of my sisters were tortured to death by him and his friends. If anyone reported to the police, their entire family would be killed. It was hard to believe this could happen in today's society under the rule of law. Initially, the Coe family even tried to cover for him, but with what Selene Chin revealed publicly and the wave of public outrage, the Coe family finally gave up. Ethan Coe was sentenced to death. When the verdict was announced, the man who was once the crown prince of the entertainment industry went mad. "No way, I'm the crown prince of the golden age. Release me. Who dares to kill me? Father, I won't let you off the hook." A police officer kicked him in the back. "The Qing dynasty fell long ago. Do you still think you're a prince? This is a republic ruled by law. Villains like you and your family won't escape. The incident shocked the entire country. In the face of the government and the public, the colossal co-group crumbled like thin paper. On my way out of the courthouse, I met Selene Chin. She ran up and hugged me. Sister Jane Jiang, our efforts weren't in vain after all. Yes, Selene Chin had never been content to be a canary in Ethan Ko's cage. Her close friends, her good sisters, had all become tormented souls at Ethan Ko's hands. She decided to bravely venture into the tiger's den to overthrow the dark hand that overshadowed the entertainment industry. Seeing her radiant smile, my eyes welled up. I had once asked her if it was worth it. Because once she chose this path, every small incident that followed could become a blemish on her life, a lifelong cloud of rumors. But she looked at me with determination and said, "Sister Jane Jiang, if I don't speak up, no one else will raise a flag for me. If I fall into darkness, then let me be the last light in everyone's hearts. Justice resides in the hearts of the people. I believe in public judgment." I looked up, trying to hold back my tears. Ethan Ko's ex-girlfriends also arrived. They waved and tearfully embraced Selene Chin. Among them, some had willingly thrown themselves into Ethan Ko's arms, while others were forced, but in the end, they all chose to step forward. They were very brave, but the bravest of all was still Selene Chin. Contrary to everyone's predictions, as soon as she appeared in public, she received widespread attention, but ultimately, she chose to retreat behind the scenes, becoming a director. As for me, over the next 8 years, I successively participated in many films, portraying various female roles, each possessing a unique charm, a colorful soul, and a wealth of emotions. Every role received affection and adoration from fans. In the 8th year, I stood on the awards stage, holding my first Best Actress trophy. Selene Chin regrettably came in second that year, but her eyes shone with an extraordinary light. We looked at each other and smiled. That night, bathed in the stage lights, I humbly raised the microphone and said, "I don't believe that appearance or physique defines a woman's beauty. Those things will fade with time. It is the differences among us that create each person's unique identity, and every one of us deserves all the most beautiful praise in this world. In the future, I will continue to embody many different female archetypes. I hope everyone will love them. And most importantly, please love yourselves well."